So something that is really common for people with mental health issues and chronic illness issues is to self-soothe, to self-medicate, and whether that is with alcohol or drugs or risky behavior or something like gambling, or a lot of times there's sorry, this is getting a bone. There's outbursts. You have these urges because of imbalances in different brain chemicals. I guess it is time to chew on the bone for Tozy, so sorry. But so there's this need or like strong urge to do whatever that thing is that you do that soothes you, and so we have these strong impulses to do these things, to drink, to gamble, to be aggressive, whatever it is. And those urges are really, really, really hard to control, especially when you have trained your body and your brain to think that that's the only way through whatever situation is happening or whatever you're feeling in that moment. And so you feel like this is what I need to do to get out of what I'm feeling, so if I have a drink, I'll feel better, right? So controlling these urges is something that is really, really important to learn. And there's something called urge surfing, and it's where you imagine yourself kind of riding the wave of the urge, not actually going through with it or the impulse, but you imagine it, and so part of that is recognizing what's happening in your physical body when you do have this impulse or this urge, and then recognizing what following through with that will look like, will feel like. And a lot of this has to do with getting to know your body and getting to know your what's going to affect you and what is going to make you want to do this and these impulses. So urge surfing can be really helpful, but there's a lot of other things that are behind that, like doing some inner work, inner child work, inner counsel work, finding your safe space, telling yourself that it's okay to feel these things, getting to know what happens in your body physically, going into yourself, like into your heart, into your nervous system, into the different parts of you that are affected. Maybe it's your breathing. And then kind of seeing what's going on in there and getting to know yourself in that way. And also, a lot of it has to do with breath. And I want to do a whole video on yoga and breath and the nervous system, but I feel like this is one of the most important tools for impulse control is breath work. And just going in and taking that deep breath when you have that strong urge and that impulse, you know, is huge. But also being able to sit with it. Sit with your breath, sit with the urge, sit with how you feel. And doing this and doing the breath work, it does affect the nervous system, and it does affect different receptors in your brain, and it will pass, right, when you learn these techniques. So I'm sitting here I'm on my yoga mat, and I wanted to do this way because there's a couple yoga poses that I think are really good for impulse control. I want to do a breath work technique, and then just talk a tiny bit more about it. So breath work. So something really, really simple we're gonna do is just sit comfortable, however that is for you. When you feel that urge, or you feel that impulse, or you want to explode, or you want to drink, or you want to do something crazy, you know, get out of your body, get out of your head, that's when you need to get in it, right? And that's fucking scary. But that's the work. That's the work we're doing. So, sit down with yourself. Feel what's going on. Think about what triggered you. Think about what affected you and why it affected you. And then think about it internally instead of externalizing what happened. And maybe something happened and you're blaming someone else. Think about why. Whatever they did, it's outside of you. Why is that affecting you? You know, why are you having this reaction? What is it internally in you that needs healed in order to not have this impulse? So that's first. We sit, we recognize, we feel, we think, and we breathe. So super simple breathing exercise. We're gonna take a deep breath in from the belly all the way up to the chest and count. And then we're gonna exhale, and we're gonna go from the chest all the way down to the belly. We're gonna count, and it's gonna be equal lengths. So you're just gonna sit there, and you're gonna inhale. 1, 2, 3, fill the chest. Exhale, empty. 1, empty the lungs, empty the belly. Inhale, fill the belly, feel the lungs, fill the chest, and exhale, empty the chest, empty the rib cage and the lungs, and empty the belly. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 3, 2, 1. And you can do this silently, of course. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. And do this for as long as you need, and you should already start to feel yourself calming down, feel your nervous system calming down, your anxiety going away, and maybe coming into yourself a little bit of self-reflection happening. But hopefully you're too busy kind of being present and being in the moment, right? A couple more tips in a second. So we did a little bit of breath work, and I'm going to do just a couple yoga poses that can help too, like when you're getting the impulse, and just something to just go into yourself. So the best one, I think, is child's pose, because it's easy, it's comfortable, it elongates your back, and what you really, really, really want from it is to activate this right here, like your third eye area, this So you want it to be touching something. So if you can't touch the ground with it, then I have a block, and I just have like a bandana around it. You can use books, whatever. I'm gonna back this up just a little bit so you can see a little better. Okay, so child's pose, right? You can have your feet together, you can have them apart, you can have your knees together, you can have them apart. It's really whatever is most comfortable for you. The key thing is to just be in it, right? And be comfortable and it not hurt. So I'm gonna use the block, and I'm gonna put my forehead right on it. And I actually like my legs together to rest on. And then I'm gonna put my arms behind me and do that breathing again. Do that same breathing. Or you can put your arms in front of you, whatever really is comfortable. But this is a nice way to just get inside yourself. Forward folds are very, very, very good for the nervous system and calming the nervous system and calming anxiety. So if you aren't able to just get down into child's pose, another one is just a forward fold, right? So you want your feet about hip width apart, and then you're just going to fold over at the hips, coming down, and then you can bend your knees too for comfort and relax into it. Make sure you relax your toes, shake your head if you want. You can just let your arms hang, grab onto opposite elbows, sway back and forth. And of course do the breathing, right? You really want your weight in the balls of your feet here. And I know my hair's in the way, but here's grabbing onto the elbows, feet parallel, right? Breathing and just hanging out, nodding. Yes, no, swaying. Whatever you do, don't bounce, because that can hurt your spine. Yeah. So that's another really good one for controlling the impulses. And I've heard of a lot of others that are good for it, but I think that they are too emotional. I'll put it that way. Because a lot of times I've heard people say, like, you want to do hip openers, you want to do something like that. But I think that can come later, definitely. But when you're in that state and you're that vulnerable and susceptible to, your own self, without having control or will or whatever, like, going into a vulnerable state, I don't think is the most healthy thing to do. But there is one other pose that I think is really healthy, and it's upside down. So if you're comfortable without a wall, which I'm not going to use, I don't have a wall, you're just going to lay on your back and bring your feet up to the sky. So your hands are going to come down by your hips, palms to the ground to brace, and then your legs are just going to come straight up. Of course, do the breathing, and you want some space between your necks to kind of pull up here, and you can bring your head from side to side, relax that way. If you get comfortable, you want to open your chest and your heart a little bit, you can open your palms and just breathe, and stay here for as long as you need to, legs against the wall too. Tozie's gonna give you some face action. So that is a very simple yoga poses to go into when you're having those moments. But there's also one other trick well, there's a bunch of others. Like besides the urge surfing, which is noticing your body, noticing the urge, imagining yourself writing it out and going through with it, and then feeling how you feel after you go into like the breath work and it's kind of a meditation of imagining yourself surfing through whatever the impulse is, right? So if it's drinking, imagining yourself drinking and then seeing how you feel after you do that. Or imagine yourself, if it's aggression, if it's throwing something or punching a pillow or whatever, imagine yourself doing that, or gambling. And then after you go through the meditation of imagining it, then the impulse is less because your brain feels like it did it, right? So, okay, so we have urge surfing, we have a couple yoga poses, but one last yoga pose is a headstand, a tripod headstand. So, getting upside down is really, really important. It just kind of shifts your perspective in every sense of the word, right? You're shifting everything upside down, your vision, your blood flow. You have to think about your breath more because you're using your muscles in different ways that they're not used to. You're being supported by things that aren't usually supporting you. So the ground isn't under your feet anymore, right? It's literally being taken away. And that is really, really helpful too in this situation. Just flipping your world upside down and seeing things from a different perspective. And this is a really safe upside down like headstand pose. We're going to do tripod, and this isn't something that you should be scared of, but it is something that you need to take little steps at a time to do, to get into fully. And another reason that this is really good for impulse control is because it does take extra concentration and extra mindfulness. So not only are you flipping your world, you're focusing on your breath, you're also focusing on your muscle movements and control. And then, your mind is somewhere else. It's busy. And you also have control, right, of something else. So impulse control, that impulse is you not having control over it. Like that's something that's taking over your life, and it needs you to do this thing. But if you can do something else that requires control, you have that sense of control. So I'm going to do it really quick, and then I'll do probably a regular pose, more in-depth video of it, right? So I have a blanket because I like to use a blanket. My hands are going to be down on the ground, right? And then I'm going to put the crown of my head, the very, very top of my head, down on the ground here. And if this is where you're at, stay here. Stay here and breathe. And just get used to that kind of feeling. You really want to feel like the elongated neck in your cervical spine. You don't want it to feel crushed at all, right? So the next step would be to extend your legs and walk them in. And then stay here, right? And then the next step is bringing one knee to the elbow, or to the forearm, sorry. And stay here and breathe. And this is you're gonna start to feel it in your core at this point. And then you're gonna bring the other one and hang out and breathe. And then you're gonna bring both. You're gonna hang out and breathe here. And this is as far as I want you to go unless you have a practice and you can fully extend. And I want you to know how safe this pose is, because don't be afraid of falling forward, because it's just a somersault. It's just a somersault. So as long as there's nothing in front of you, you're fine. Just tuck and roll. Never use a wall. Never use a wall. Because then you fall forward and you get stuck. And that's when you can have that neck injury. So I know this was kind of a lengthy video because we included a lot of different techniques and poses and stuff, but I really hope that this helped you with impulse control, because I know that that is something that a lot of people with mental health and, you know, chronic illness and things like that, we struggle with a lot, because, you know, we are self-medicating. We are trying to, you know, make ourselves feel better, because, you know, sometimes it's too much, and I totally get it. And I've been there. I've been, you know, self-destructive behavior for most of my life. And yoga really has saved my life in so many ways. And meditation and breathing and yeah, it's something that is really, really, really important to me, and I really, really believe in it, and I really, really believe in it for this, because it's helped me overcome a lot of different types of impulses and you know, addictive behaviors and things like that. So I really hope this helps.